My name is Krista Letty. I'm the Experience Development Coordinator here at Métis Crossing. Métis Crossing is this beautiful place on the North Saskatchewan River. We are a gathering place and a story place. We tell the Métis story. We invite everyone to come and experience Métis culture and to just connect with the land. We Métis people have different elements of culture that really identify us to each other, but I think the sash is that one item that really allows the rest of the world to recognize who we are. We took something that was already there that was an important part of our life, and we just started creating them in our own way, and they became an important part of our outfitting and the way we decorate ourselves, but it was a useful tool, and we just made it ours. Well after its usefulness, it was still being worn as an important part of identity. That sash was such an important tool of the fur trade. It didn't start off as the sash we know today. It was about 12 to 18 inches wide and 8 feet or longer. It was big. It was meant to act as a weightlifting belt, so it would be wrapped around a fur trader's waist several times. The reason for the weightlifting belt was because fur traders often died from complications from getting hernias. So what happens when you're expected to lift 300 pounds of beaver fur, which by the way was the standard, you had to lift at least that much. Of course, no surgeries, no hospitals, no place to get that really treated, so you had to do everything you could to prevent it, and wearing your sash was an important way to do that. We'd also use it as a temporary rope. We could use it as a sling. There were lots of uses for that sash. Now those fur traders, they found First Nation women out here and started families, and their sons generally became fur traders, and their sons became fur traders, and so they were wearing these sashes. Now those children became who we now know as, the first Métis. So the children started that process of ethnogenesis of what became the Métis people. And those sashes, there were two ways to get them. First of all, you could buy them for the fur trading companies. So the Hudson's Bay Company had one that was made in Coventry, England, and had a very specific color and pattern. Or you could buy it from the Northwest Company. It was made in a place called Assumption, Quebec. And it also had a very distinctive color and pattern. These sashes were expensive. Very expensive, and fur traders, those first children of the fur trade, they started making them their own, and they would use a process called fingerweaving. So a full-size sash could take up to 300 hours to make through this process, and you started telling stories in the weave that you did. So these women, these Métis women who made these sashes, started making them as a way to represent their community, themselves, their people. And that's when it became a Métis thing. Today, generally our sashes that we can buy are made out of wool and other materials that are made on large commercial looms. There are some artisans that still make them on hand looms. And what's really exciting is that finger weaving is coming back as an important art. And there are more and more young people especially that are taking up this way of making these traditional sashes. What's really exciting is that the colors and patterns are being reclaimed. The sash that you can buy pretty much anywhere, like here at Métis Crossing or at the Métis Nation of Alberta, they are still just as important as symbols. And it's not about the colors and patterns in the sash. It's not about where you got it. It's about wearing it. And Métis people, the fact that we can wear them now, we can be loud and proud in who we are and wear these sashes, that's the most important part. We are going to do some very basic, simple finger weaving today, and depending on how long your yarn is, you can either make a simple bracelet, a bookmark, or maybe something just to hang off of your bag, fun little fob. You're going to need 2 colors of wool, some tape, scissors, a stick. I'm using a pencil crayon today, but it works if you have a thinner stick. So a bamboo skewer or maybe even a knitting needle is a good idea. Anything shorter than, like if you use a toothpick, you might find it's a little too short. I wouldn't go anything shorter than, you know, about here. And a table to work on. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 2 colors of yarn, of course, not get tangled up like me, and we're going to put the 2 ends together and then gently pull. So you don't want to pull it too tight because yarn has a bit of stretch and we don't want them to get all stretched and weird because we want them to be the same length. And you're going to go from this thumb, and I'm going to pull it way over here, to this thumb over here, and I'm going to cut it. Now I have my yarn. I can put these away now. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to fold this in half. As you can see, it's folded in half. I'm going to do it one more time. So now I have one end that has the 4 little loose ends here, 1 loop, and this side that's all loops. Now I'm going to do what's called an overhand knot. Simply, it's just turning all of these threads into one and tying a knot on the loop side like this. And I'm going to pull that tightly. So now what I have here is a group of loops. This means that I can attach this to whatever I'd like, or even use this as a tie-off for my bracelet. All right, so now we're ready to do some table work. I am going to now cut these 2 loops here at the bottom. And what this does, it makes a really fun kind of octopus. So I should have 8 strands, 4 of each color, hanging from my knot, and a bunch of loops. We're going to separate the threads. So I'm going to put the red ones here and the yellow ones here. So the red one's at the bottom and the yellow's on top. And I'm going to put a stick in between them. And now I'm going to attach the stick to my table with some tape. Just enough tape to hold it securely. If you're finding it's not sticking well for whatever reason, you can always add a second piece to each side. The stick isn't going anywhere. So now we're going to do what's called setting the shed. I want to take these threads and I want them to wrap around the stick like they're an octopus holding onto a balance beam. So it's going to kind of look like this. We're going to alternate the strings, moving the red ones to the top and the yellow ones to the bottom. Don't worry, it sounds really complicated. I'm going to show you how to do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is load my left hand. This weaving, everything starts with the left hand and moves to the right hand. And then the threads, it goes from the right and moves to the left. Again, I'll show you, so don't worry if this is confusing you. We're going to take those top threads, which are yellow right now, and move them here between my thumb and my index finger. The bottom ones I'm going to take and I'm going to put them between my middle finger and my ring finger. So my left hand is what I call loaded. So when I say to load your left hand, this is what it should look like. Sometimes though, the red will be at the top and the yellow will be at the bottom. But just know that one color will be here and the other color will be up here. Now, to move these threads, we're going to use the help of a right hand. I'm going to take the first thread, which I'm going to choose to be yellow this time. Later on in the weave, when I say the thread that's most on the right, it's going to be really obvious which one it is. But just to start, this is where I'm starting. So I'm going to take the yellow thread and I'm going to pinch it between the counterpart on my right hand from my left hand. Do you see what's happening there? So it's going to come and move to the bottom. The next one is a red, and I'm going to move it to the top. Can you see what's happening? Yellow to the bottom and red to the top. Yellow to the bottom, red to the top, yellow to the bottom, red to the top. Now with my now free left hand, I'm going to grab the threads on the top and my right hand's going to grab the threads at the bottom and I'm going to pull them apart like this. And do you see what's happening? Our octopus is hanging onto that balance beam with its legs alternating. That's what you want it to look like. Now I'm going to reload my left hand. So the red ones are on the top now. They're going to go between my thumb and my index finger. And the yellow ones are on the bottom, which are going to be between my middle finger and my ring finger. Now when we weave, if we did this back and forth over and over, nothing would happen. We need something to go in between. And in weaving, this part here is called the shed, the threads that go up and down. The threads that go back and forth are called the weft, but we don't have any threads that go back and forth. So what are we going to do? We are going to borrow from the shed to make the weft. So the thread that's most on the right-hand side is going to be a yellow one. What we're going to do is we're going to tuck it in between the two layers here. So you see how it's like in between there? And I'm going to kind of just give it a tug and move it up here. Our next thread is going to be red. So we're going to repeat that process of moving the threads up and down. So the thread here, the red one, is going to go down. Yellow is going to come up. Red goes to the bottom. Yellow comes to the top. Red to the bottom. Yellow to the top. Red to the bottom. And now this is where you really need to pay attention. This yellow one way up here, I'm going to give it a tug, make it a little tighter at the top, and it's going to come back and join all of the other yellow threads on the top. And now we have one layer of weave done. So to start the next one, I'm going to grab this with my left hand and hold the bottom with my right hand, and I'm going to do what's called a pop. And we just kind of give them a tug, pop. And now we're ready to reload the left hand. So now the yellow are between my thumb and my index finger, and the red are between my middle finger and my ring finger. And now we're going to do the next level. So thread most on the right is red. It's going to get tucked in here, sandwiched in between. And I'm just going to put it up here out of the way. And now yellow will go down and red will come up. Yellow down, red up. Yellow down, red up. Yellow down, red up. Yellow down. And I'm going to come over here, give that a tug, and bring the red back to the rest of the reds. Grab the two layers, pop. Now I'm ready to reload my left hand and do this again. Thread most on the right is yellow. And we're just going to tuck it in between. And by the way, if your last thread was red, you know that this one should be yellow, and my next one after should be red. If you're finding that it's the same color each time, check to see that you're grabbing the thread that's most on the right. Okay, so now red's going to go down, yellow up, red down, yellow up, red down, yellow up, red goes to the bottom. Now this yellow, I'm going to give it a tug and bring it back to the rest of the yellow threads. Grab the two layers, pop, reload my left hand. Okay, let's do this again. Thread most on the right is red. It's going to get tucked in between. Put that up there. Yellow goes down, red comes up. Yellow down, red up. Yellow down, red up. Yellow down, red up. Yellow down. Grab this other red one, give it a tug. Join his other red threads. Pop. And reload my left hand. Okay, thread most on the right this time is yellow, and I'm just going to pull it through there. Red down, yellow up, red down, yellow up, red down, yellow up, red down, yellow, give it a tug, join the other yellow threads, and pop. Now, sometimes if it gets a little wonky or things look weird, you can just tighten things up by tugging on each individual thread. This is often the reason why things might not look right, why you're not getting this kind of alternating pattern. So do that before you get frustrated and take it all apart. Try just giving those threads a tug. Okay, most on the right is red. I'm going to tuck it through, yellow down, red up, yellow down, red up, yellow down, red up, yellow down. Now you might have noticed I switched. I'm not putting in between my middle and my ring finger on this hand. I'm putting it between my index finger and middle finger. And if that's more comfortable for you on your right hand, you can certainly do that too. I'm going to come up here, grab this red, give it a tug, join the rest of the reds, pop, reload my left hand, and we're ready to do the next row. Most on the right is yellow, red down, yellow up, red down, yellow up, red down, yellow up, red down. Grab the yellow, come join the rest, and there we go. Pop, and now reset, reload my left hand. And we're going to continue this process until we get to about this far down. So maybe 2 to 3 inches or 5 to 7 centimeters. Or if you want to make it longer, your fringe, you can certainly do that. Anything shorter and it gets a little difficult. All right, let's keep weaving. All right, I am ready to do some fringe. So I'm going to have some really long, luxurious fringe here. And if you notice on our Métis sashes, we have twisty fringe and we have braided fringe, anything that looks good. But today we're going to do twisty fringe. So what I'm going to do is now I can safely put down my work. And I'm going to grab the 2 threads that's most on the left this time. And it should be alternating colors. So again, today I've used yellow and red, but whatever 2 colors you choose to use, you should make sure at the bottom here, there's 1 of each color. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tie just a simple knot, and not too tight, just enough to hold it together. What this does, it keeps the work from unraveling while you're making your fringe. So I'm just going to do that. And again, each time you grab 2 threads, it should be of the 2 different colors you used. Okay, back to those first 2. Now yarn has a twist and it's called the worst, or you know, whatever you want to call it, worst. This twist generally is going to be clockwise. What we're going to do is we are going to make these twists tighter and tighter and tighter. So your yarn twist should be getting tighter. If they're getting looser, you're going the wrong way. So it should be clockwise for most yarn. Now that I've got these nicely twisted, I'm going to start wrapping them in the opposite direction. And in this case, it's counterclockwise. And I'm just going to keep twisting and keep wrapping. The tighter you twist, the tighter you wrap, the tighter your twist spiral is going to be. It's going to be pretty cool. You can do this with any fiber. When my girls were little, I used to do this with their ponytails. It was so cute. And I'm just going to keep twisting, going all the way to the bottom. And you know you've done it right when you're at the bottom and you let go, the twist should remain. So now to finish this off, I'm just going to tie another overhand knot. There, one's done. Let's show this again. So I'm going to take the two threads and I'm going to twist them to make that twist that exists in the yarn really, really tight. And then I'm going to start to wrap it around each other in the opposite direction. Sometimes you let go accidentally, and that's okay. Just pick it up and keep twisting where you left off. All right, there. I'm going to tie an overhand knot at the end. There we go. Next one, same thing. Just twist, 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 make those twists tighter, and then start wrapping in the opposite direction. You see what I'm actually doing is as I'm switching from hand to hand, I'm actually using my fingers just to twist it a little bit more. And then the last one, and we're almost done. All right, time to tie that off. And it's done. Our next step is just to take the pencil off the table, break that tape off, and then slide your piece off, and there you go. You've got a bookmark or a bracelet or a really cool fob to put on your bag or on your keys. Hi, it's Krista from Métis Crossing, and I want to invite you to come out and experience Métis culture and try something new here. It could be simple as dancing or doing a traditional workshop or even just coming and spending time with the river and the land and the plants and the animals. See you soon at Métis Crossing.